Hey guys, check it out. You're watching Jonathan Clarke on YouTube. Oh no! It just occurred to me that I didn't even realize I was donning the colors of the original Descendants franchise, and I think that each and every one of us have held a special place in our hearts for the original Descendants franchise because of how powerful characters such as Dove Cameron, Sophia Carson, and Cameron Boyce brought to life on the set of a Disney Channel original movie that would amount to the heights of unprecedentedness. I think it's exceeded the expectations of every critic that every franchise of Descendants, no matter if you're talking about the original franchise, this new franchise, have ever encountered. The fans of Descendants and Zombies have been some of the most supportive of all time. It was seen this summer at the Worlds Collide Tour. It's still seen with how excited everybody is about Descendants 5, Wicked Wonderland, and its upcoming release next summer. I will be here next summer, counting you down to every moment of Descendants and Zombies leading into the premiere of Descendants 5, Wicked Wonderland. I will share with you my thoughts, my predictions on the franchise, where I think it's headed, and also too will I be talking about Zombies 5, because no matter how far away Zombies 5 is, I think it will forever and always hold a special place in our hearts. Disney has never officially released the release information for Zombies 5, but even though they have never officially released the release information for Zombies 5 or have confirmed it, one can be led to believe that we will see Zombies 5 with the indication that Vortex presenting the greatest threat ever in the history of Seabrook out of everything they have encountered from, of course, werewolves, aliens, vampires, two different groups of vampires, daywalkers and nightwalkers, which I'm sure a lot of critics are still trying to decipher what is the difference between a daywalker and a nightwalker. Of course, a daywalker is a vampire that exists in the daytime. A nightwalker is a vampire that exists in the nighttime. It's a pretty obvious concept. I think a lot of people fell in love with that. And I think the plot of Zombies 5 would suggest that because of Nova and Victor's relationship now, there's going to be more confliction than ever seen before between daywalkers and nightwalkers because some of them may not approve of it. So that is the perfect way for a new storyline to present itself into the Zombies franchise and more supernatural characters to perhaps debut in the Zombies franchise, because one cannot forget about the history of supernatural creatures and how much that details and how much of an influence and impact that can have on the Zombies 5 franchise with this new cast coming in, all these new characters. I think that one way of looking at it is the story between Zed and Addison, with how beautiful that was. I think there was still so much more of a story left to be told. We were left with so many unanswered questions. What happened after they decided they wanted to spend the rest of their lives together? Did they go on to have a family? Did they go on to live happily ever after? Did they encounter some other supernatural force or being? I mean, I think we were left with so many unanswered questions after that final scene and that final kiss between Zed and Addison, which I was very emotionally overcome because that was a point that I always wanted Zombies to get to. I always wanted to see that kiss, that definite kiss shared between Zed and Addison, and we finally saw it in Zombies 4, Dawn of the Vampires. Originally, behind the scenes footage for you guys, there was supposed to have been a kiss between Victor and Nova in that movie, but they cut it out because of their age. I think we could have went for a kiss between Victor and Nova because of how passionate everybody was and felt about those two characters. But perhaps Disney felt it was too early for them to share a kiss and become that emotionally involved with each other. But eventually, I foresee them getting as close as what Zed and Addison did, and I for one would love to see them get to a point where their emotions sometimes get the better of them. I think that you're never too young to fall in love. Let me just say that. I don't think you're ever too young to fall in love, and you're never too young to be introduced to what love truly means to somebody. So if I were the writer producer of Zombies, I think what I would have done is I would have had that kiss remained in the script, and I wouldn't have replaced it with a kiss between Zed and Addison. I think we could have had an emotional moment for, both groups, both Victor and Nova and Zed and Addison, because I think by Zombies 4, Dawn of the Vampires, I think that we had gotten to a point where so much had happened, and we were a part of so much emotion and so many emotional moments and unforgettable times in the Zombies franchise. Everything from where Addison tried to embrace her history and heritage of being a werewolf to discovering her lineage of being an alien. I mean, we went through so much and so many breakable moments between Zed and Addison, so much conflict that I think that they eventually got to a point in the Zombies franchise where they realized they just wanted to spend the rest of their lives together. And I had so much respect for that cast for really bringing this franchise to life by the time Zombies 4, Dawn of the Vampires happened. Because nobody ever thought that Zombies 4, Dawn of the Vampires was going to happen. I mean, let's be realistic. We all thought that Zombies 3 was the end of a trilogy. A story had been told and completed, but we had never seen that definite kiss, that definite decision that Zed and Addison wanted to spend the rest of their lives together. Because I think everybody gets to a point in their life. I think we all saw ourselves through the eyes of Ed and Addison at one point or another in the Zombies franchise, because I think we all get to a point in our life where we spend so much time with somebody that we realize that we want to spend the rest of our lives together. I just recently saw, just last night, one of my friends posted a happy birthday celebration notice on their Facebook page for one of their friends that they had been friends with for over 20 years. They were their ride or die, and they wanted the entire world to know how much they loved them. So it just went to show how long a friendship or a relationship could last and really stand the test of time, even when you least expect it. You get to a point in your lifetime where you meet that person that you just want to live out the rest of your life with. And I think that we've all, at one point or another, seen ourselves through the eyes of either Victor or Nova or Zed or Addison. So I think that everybody took something really precious away from the Zombies franchise, and I don't think ever enough movies can be produced in this franchise, or never enough chapters can be written about it. Let me just say this. If I were the writer and producer of Descendants and Zombies, there is not anything that you would not see happen or have a potential of actually happening or a chance of happening in the Zombies franchise, because I would bring this to life in a way that nobody else has ever brought it to life before. Because I think that these movies have really set us up for life. They've really taught us valuable life lessons and just how valuable friendships actually are. Even in the Descendants franchise, we have seen how valuable friendships actually are between Dove Cameron and Sophia Carson, who I'm wearing the colors of today because purple is the color of Descendants, obviously the original franchise. But one thing I noticed about the original franchise's premiere back on July 31st, 2015, the same night Bunk premiered, because I was a really big fan of Peyton List, and I was originally tuning in for the Bunk premiere because I was a big fan of Peyton List and the original cast of Jesse, which I know a lot of people who watch this YouTube channel were, and probably they were originally tuning in for the premiere of Jesse years ago and Bunked. So the thing was, this movie exploded because I really believe that friendship was really put on display and showcased in a way that no other Disney Channel franchise had ever showcased it before. We saw friendships, of course, from High School Musical, and of course how this High School Musical franchise was supposed to be really what Disney was going to represent for many years to come. But I really don't think that High School Musical stood out in the way that Descendants did, because they didn't showcase friendship. While they may have tried to showcase friendship, they didn't really put enough emphasis on friendship, because there was always this jealousy coming from Sharpay Evans and Ashley Tisdale's character towards Gabriela Montez, Vanessa Hudgens' character, for her infatuation with Troy Bolton and their infatuation for each other. And while the emphasis on High School Musical may have been on, spending your life out with the one that you truly loved and couldn't think of spending your life with anybody else or doing anything else with your life, because that was really the recurring theme of High School Musical, I think there was never enough emphasis on friendship. I don't think there was ever enough emphasis on spending your life out with the one you truly loved or could ever imagine spending your life out with, until we got to a point where Descendants exploded in popularity. And by Descendants 2, the music had gotten better, the story was deeper, the emotion was at an all-time high. Everybody was just so crazy about Descendants and Zombies. And I, for one, really believe that if Descendants and Zombies would have premiered in the werewolf-vampire trend when Twilight was at the heights of its popularity, it would have been really able to stand its own. It really would have been able to stand its own because of the popularity of it, and it probably would have went on to become one of the most revered Disney Channel franchises of all time around the same time that High School Musical was being promoted. Put Descendants up against High School Musical any night of the week and see how many people will tune in to watch it. And I would venture to say, I would garner to say, and make an early on prediction that Descendants would definitely surpass it in the ratings and the reviews, because I remember when the reviews were first posted about Descendants over a decade ago, and some of the very first reviews were so positive. And then came all the criticism from all the critics once Descendants has gotten to a particular point where the popularity of Descendants had become somewhat overwhelming for a lot of people. So that obviously was the reason behind the critics and the incentive they had to write all these negative reviews of Descendants. But it was because of the characters, it was because of the music, everything just influenced everybody to start writing a bunch of positive reviews on Rotten Tomatoes and IMDb.com. And I remember reading the reviews and how positive they were. So that's why I say, you put High School Musical up against Descendants or Zombies any night of the week, and Zombies will remain number one on Disney Channel any night of the week up against High School Musical. Now in this generation, I think we've kind of moved away from generations that were once in a lifetime represented by Hannah Montana and High School Musical, and into a generation now where fans are stronger, They're more opinionated. They know more because of Descendants and Zombies, because Descendants and Zombies taught everybody everything so quickly, and everybody found their place in the world. Because that's what the reoccurring theme was of Descendants and Zombies, along with acceptance. Acceptance and finding your place in the world. Because that's what Mel wanted to do from day one at Oradon Prep. She wanted to find her place in the world. She didn't know she was going to fall madly in love with the Beast's son Ben at the time, but that just added icing onto the cake and got everybody even more excited and felt more intrigued about Descendants and Zombies. I didn't even know where I was in the world. I don't know what was going through my mind that night I was watching Descendants and Zombies, but I was able to turn off whatever was going on in my life that time on that night to watch Descendants and Zombies, and everything about it just really hit me hard in the heart, because it really allowed me to put my life into perspective. From the music, how this girl wanted to achieve nothing more, only acceptance, wanted to find her true place in the world with or without love, because she didn't care what anybody thought of her. And she got to a point in her lifetime by Descendants 2 where she didn't really care what anybody thought of her. And we saw a good side of Mel, we saw an evil side of Mel, we saw a very unpredictable side of Mel, we saw conflict between Mel and Uma, which I really appreciated by Descendants 2, and all the CGI stuff happening with the CGI dragon and the serpent. It was really cool how Descendants was really brought to life, and how everybody who was a part of that project thought that it was going to amount to something beyond the expectations of every critic it may have encountered. And for sure, Descendants and Zombies received its fair share of criticism, and probably that's the reason why they took a 5-year hiatus following the production of Descendants 3, along with the passing of Cameron Boyce, and now producing a 4th movie with the original cast just wouldn't have felt right without Cameron Boyce. As much as I agree with that statement, I think that Cameron Boyce would have wanted the legacy of the Descendant stars of the past and his legacy to live on through the carrying on of the lineage of Descendants and Zombies. And somewhere out there today, Cameron Boyce is smiling down on everybody who's a part of the franchise, carrying on the legacy that they built up many, many years ago. I think that he's proud of where the Descendants franchise has gotten, the point they've gotten to, and how much further they have to go, which is why I really appreciated that 4-minute tribute they did for Cameron Boyce in the first 5 minutes of the Descendants movie, saying that this is what Cameron Boyce would have wanted. Sure, I really do believe that this is what he would have wanted. I think he would have wanted the best for Kylie Cantrell. He would have wanted the best for Ruby Rose Turner. He would have wanted the best for everybody who was a part of the Descendants franchise, and I think he would have been particularly fond of Kylie Cantrell. I think he would have been even more fond of Ruby Rose Turner, because I have the biggest crush in the world on Ruby Rose Turner. And I'm not just saying that because I have the biggest crush in the world on Ruby. I'm saying that because of the dedication that they've really shown to the franchise, because these are characters that nobody ever thought was going to amount to anything. Within the first 5 minutes of the Descendants franchise having this movie released, everybody found something to criticize about it, from the color scheme to the music to the plot, how fearless Kylie Cantrell was, and she too was trying to find her place in the world through acceptance, attending Oradon Prep for the very first time after having an invitation extended on the behalf of Uma to Oradon Prep, who became the principal of Oradon Prep. I think that would have been a role more fitting for Jonathan Clarke, because Jonathan Clarke's mom was a teacher, and Jonathan Clarke knew how to teach people and stuff, and be a huge role model for everybody. So I think I would have loved to have been the principal of Oradon Prep. I think I would have been a really cool kind of guy, presented a really cool kind of vibe, just saying. But this was a really huge opportunity for Descendants to really make the most of every opportunity, because not only did we see, Uma coming back to reprise her role, China Anne McClain is a true legend. As far as I'm concerned, there is nobody better and more revered than China Anne McClain. The more that I think about it, I remember watching her on Ant Farm years ago, and I remember how much emphasis she put behind her role on that show. And nobody ever thought Ant Farm was going to be as big as what it was, until it eventually exceeded the expectations of their critics. And now here comes China Anne McClain in a far more powerful role as Uma, and I think she's doing a more fabulous job than I know. I don't really say a whole lot about China Anne McClain, but I do notice that on YouTube she's one of the top trends when it comes to Descendants, because I guess she's one of the only characters, apart from the fairy godmother, that always comes back to reprise her role, showing the dedication. And I really think that this was a huge opportunity because of working alongside legends like China Anne McClain, Rita Ora, and Brandy that catapulted Kylie Cantrell and Malia Baker to superstardom. And now we're wondering what Descendants 5 with Wonderland's plot is going to detail. Reportedly, it's going to have something to do with a villain threatening Wonderland during the Kingdom Cup games, which I find very intriguing, because initially what I had thought was going to happen was that Pink was going to present enough conflict that she would have been the villain in the Descendants franchise. But now, what they're suggesting, along with the conflict, the sibling quarrel that is to be expected as one of the consequences of time travel, there is also going to be a villain entering Wonderland for the first time ever during the Kingdom Cup games, along with all these characters coming from a distant far to partake in the Kingdom Cup games. Again, another perfect opportunity for Jonathan Clarke to finally see his introduction into the Descendants franchise. I say this because Descendants has become such a huge part of my life. Every day I'm recording Descendants videos on YouTube, so Descendants could give me a cameo, if anything, or be the announcer of the Kingdom Cup games, because I've done voiceover work for professional wrestling and UFC for so many years. I would love to either partake in the Kingdom Cup games or be the announcer, kind of like a Michael Buffer kind of thing, or a Rod Roddy from the Price is Right era, to do the voiceover work for the Kingdom Cup games. But I think really what this presents is an opportunity for distant characters to come from afar, from distant lands like Olympus perhaps, probably Halloween Town. Obviously New Orleans is going to have an infancy on this too, because of course Princess and the Frog was based off the success of the New Orleans musical. So Mardi Gras, so that's going to be really fun, seeing how many characters we have coming into the fold. We have the nephews of Smee, the daughter of Captain Hook, Hazel Hook, played by Kiana Romero, coming in. Liamani Seguro's have got the responsibility now of introducing herself as Pink, who I'm looking forward to meeting next summer. There are a lot of characters I'm actually looking forward to meeting. Hazel Hook, played by Liamani Segura, whom I just mentioned. I remember watching Peter Pan for the first time when I was probably about 8 years old at a birthday party I attended. One of my friends had a birthday party, and his mom was so infatuated with Peter Pan, he too ended up having an infatuation with Peter Pan. And I think that was the first time I actually watched Peter Pan, and that was the 1960s classic, I think it was, that I watched. And I remember being so enthralled by the color scheme, by the plot. It was only like a 75-minute long movie, just as long as what Dumbo was, because Dumbo was only a 67-minute long movie. But I really think that Disney had this really unique way of representing characters like Peter Pan and Dumbo years ago. This is why the Descendants franchise has seen so much profound success, because we remember being inspired by princesses such as Sleeping Beauty and Snow White and Ariel, and now they're the inspiration behind the success stories of Princess Red. I really do like how they're referring to Red for the first time ever as Princess Red, because I really do think they only referred to her as Princess Red only once in the script, because what they were trying to do was trying to introduce us to Red, what she was going to be all about, what she was going to mean to Wonderland. And now that we're going to be faced with the consequences of time travel, Princess Red is finding its way into the script more, because obviously this is going to threaten Red's reign as the evident princess of Auradon now, because of what's going to be happening. So I really appreciate how they're referring to her as Princess Red more often than what they were in the original script, having everything to do with the consequences of time travel coming to the forefront. I've often wanted to pull a Phineas and Ferb and go back in time and take Kylie Cantrell with me, because I know that Kylie Cantrell wanted to go back and live through the 1990s. Growing up as a millennial was so much fun for me, because I saw the rise of popular boy bands like the Backstreet Boys, who went on to become the greatest boy band in history. I remember being in the lineup the day that the very first Backstreet Boys album produced was released. Of course, it had Get Down on it, Quit Playing Games with My Heart. I'm kind of a sucker for that kind of thing, but we just don't have to tell anybody that I was in the line at Music World years ago, many, many moons ago, waiting for the premiere of the Backstreet Boys album. Nobody's ever got to know that, but wait a minute, I just told that to a global audience. And I remember seeing the rise of bands like NSYNC, pop stars like Britney Spears and Christina Aguilera, and the battle between the two of them and who was far more superior. Everyone always believed that Christina Aguilera was far more superior than what Britney Spears was, although I was a bigger fan of Britney Spears and Christina Aguilera than I ever admitted to many people. But it was so fun for me growing up in that time frame, because growing up as a millennial gave me a greater appreciation for what, the 90s really meant to somebody. So for Kylie Cantrell to say that she would love to grow up in the 1990s really gives me more incentive to want to pull a Phineas and Ferb and build the time machine in my backyard. And I know I've been promising people that I was going to build either a roller coaster or a time machine in my backyard, but you guys have no idea how hard it is to track down a contractor that would actually agree to build a roller coaster or a time machine in my backyard. First, I have to find somebody to dig up my backyard, install the roller coaster, and then I have to find somebody crazy enough to build the time machine and also travel back in time with me to test the thing. And I promise you guys, if I ever do go through or follow through with building a time machine, the first thing I'm going to do is go back in time and get Ruby Rose Turner's character Bridget to be a part of present-day Wonderland. Because you can't honestly tell me that you couldn't find something for Ruby Rose Turner's character Bridget to do in present-day Wonderland. We have the Kingdom Cup games arriving in Oregon next summer, and I think this gives everybody a reason to become a Descendants fan, even if they aren't a Descendants fan, because of how unpredictable the script is going to be. This presents the chance for this to be the most unpredictable script of all time, and to be the most fun script of all time. There has never been a better time to be a fan of Descendants and Zombies and to become supportive of the franchise. And also, we have the Descendants 5 Wicked Wonderland Kingdom Cup games coming in, which produces with the opportunity to see more characters than ever before. So I think that we really need to shy away from the criticism that we're throwing away of Kylie Cantrell, Malia Baker, because we don't know, what the future has in store for Descendants and Zombies. All we know is that it's going to be an incredible amount of fun. And I feel so honored to be here, to be able to cover it for each and every one of you, because I am really intrigued with the Kingdom Cup games finding its way into Oregon for the very first time ever. We've got a new producer, Kimmy Gatewood, coming on board. So I'm really excited to see what she's going to be offering to the franchise and what her take on this is. With how the production team has become a revolving door for Descendants and Zombies, this has everything to do with why I want to get in on the action as the producer and the writer of Descendants and Zombies, because I feel as if the revolving door has always revolved around the production team for Descendants and Zombies, and this is why I think there's been so much confliction and so many negative reviews of Descendants being posted, along with everything else that I could throw your way for why I think there are so many negative reviews being posted about Descendants and Zombies. But I think it has a lot to do with the revolving door of the production team. I think it has a lot to do with how everybody thinks that a story was told and completed in 90 minutes, and if anything, a story was never told and completed in 90 minutes, because you can't. There is no way that you can tell a story in 90 minutes and complete it. Because the reason I think why they're, cutting Descendants down to a 90-minute production is so they can keep on writing chapters and keep on leaving us, hanging, wondering what's going to happen next. I really appreciate how at the end of every Descendants movie there's emphasis on how you didn't think this was the end of the story now, did you? Because you can't expect to mess with the consequences of time travel and not expect consequences in turn. So we're just left wondering now what the consequences of time travel is going to be, and if Happily Ever After was really all that Chloe and Red had ever bargained for, and if in fact they will encounter some conflict between themselves, and if their friendship will be tested. I for one believe their friendship is going to be put to the ultimate test, and by the end of Descendants 5 Wicked Wonderland we are going to see their friendship be stronger than ever, and also we're going to see them make a lot more friends than ever before. So perhaps Ruby Rose Turner, even though she's not a part of the franchise, will finally get her wish of spreading a message of kindness and pushing friendship to its proverbial limits. So obviously she's going to get her wish, and I don't know, watching Descendants 5 Wicked Wonderland is going to be hard for me, knowing that Ruby's not going to be a part of it. I always and forever will always be supportive of Ruby Rose Turner's character Bridget. That has something to do with how I love the song Life is Sweeter When You Are. I fell in love with her kindness. I fell in love with her personality. And every night of my life since I found out Ruby was not going to be a part of this franchise, I've been crying myself to sleep. And I don't know how I'm going to do it without Ruby being a part of Descendants 5. Perhaps Liamani Segura as Pink is going to make up for that, but I've got my doubts because she's been referred to as in everything from being a mini Bridget to this or that. But I think even though she's received her fair share of criticism early on, it's way too early to criticize somebody like Liamani Segura. Give her a chance. We don't really know anything about her, but that doesn't mean that she's not going to be someone spectacular for the Descendants franchise and that she's not going to offer a whole lot by the time Leg 2 of the Worlds Collide Tour happens and this remix of Life is Sweeter When You Are reportedly happens for Kylie Cantrell and Liamani Segura. I think that is going to be adorable to see on stage for Leg 2 of the Worlds Collide Tour. So if anything, Descendants 5 Wicked Wonderland opens up the door of possibilities and unpredictability for the franchise. And I, for one, am incredibly excited to see where the franchise goes from here, because the places this franchise could go is really to the galaxy and beyond. It's really to the point of unlimitedness. And I'm just really excited to see where we go from here. Because we can forever and always choose to criticize the cast of Descendants and Zombies, but we can also choose to look at it from the brighter side of things. And I think it's far more honorable to honor the franchise the way it was meant to be deserved to be reviewed for a very long time, because I'm tired of these reaction videos where people seem to make no sense whatsoever about reaction videos about Dream Come True, the music video, or Place to Be, the music video. Because really this is where all the criticism started, was with the music videos that premiered ever before Zombies 4 Dawn of the Vampires happened. And I remember being incredibly supportive of those music videos in light of all this criticism, because I wanted to shy away from it, and I will continue to steer the conversation in a positive direction. Because how many times are we caught up within a conversation that doesn't seem to be very positive, and we want to steer the conversation in a completely different direction? Well, that's what I've forever and always wanted to do with Descendants and Zombies, along with showcasing it for its true passion and its true value, which I know exists in each and every one of your hearts. And you guys want to showcase Descendants and Zombies for its true value and its true worth. And you're going to get that with this guy on this YouTube channel. If you have not already subscribed to this YouTube channel, you're probably going to want to do that, because I'm just as excited about the Kingdom Cup games happening in Oregon next summer as each and every one of you are. And I'm going to be counting down literally to the seconds that Descendants 5 with Wonderland premieres next summer, and I've got a whole lot to say where that goes, and I'm just so honored to be your voice of Descendants and Zombies. Guys, thank you so much for always subscribing, always hitting my like button. I'm going to go ahead and upload this video. Expect one more video to drop between now and sunset this evening, which I hope you will join me for, because I have a whole lot to say where Descendants and Zombies goes, and I'm incredibly excited for the foreseeable future of a franchise that will forever and always hold a special place in all of our hearts.